The notification popped up on my phone at 11:47 p.m. while I was reviewing quarterly reports for Azure Coast Hospitality. Instagram at Chloe Winters 23 posted a new photo. My sister's face filled the screen, beaming beside our parents and her husband Derek at what looked like an expensive resort. The caption made my chest tighten. Family vacation without the burden. Finally some peace and relaxation with the people who matter. #blessed, #family time, #nadramamama. 847 likes already. Mom had commented, perfect family time. Dad added, best vacation ever. Derek's comment, no toxic energy equals best energy. I scrolled through the photos. Mom and Dad by an infinity pool. Chloe and Derek at a beachside restaurant. The whole family raising champagne glasses on a sunset terrace. Everyone laughing, everyone happy. Everyone except me. The burden, apparently. I stared at my phone for a long moment, sitting in my modest downtown apartment. Around me were the trappings of what my family believed was my unsuccessful life. Second-hand furniture, a small TV, takeout containers from the Vietnamese place down the street. What they didn't see were the multiple monitors in my home office displaying real-time data from my hospitality empire. Occupancy rates, revenue streams, property acquisitions. The screens showed a business worth $1.8 billion spanning 4 countries. I typed a comment on Chloe's post, looks fun. Then I opened a different app on my phone. The one connected to every property in my portfolio. I scrolled through until I found what I was looking for. Paradise Bay Resort, Turks and Caicos. The guest list showed, Winters Family Presidential Suite 7 nights $47,000. I smiled and tapped through to the property management system. The next morning my phone rang at 6:15 a.m. Amber, something terrible has happened. It was Mom, her voice high and panicked. Good morning to you too, I said, setting down my coffee. What's wrong? We've been kicked out. They're making us leave the resort. What? Why? I don't know. The manager came to our room this morning and said there was an issue with our reservation. They're saying we need to vacate immediately. In the background I could hear Chloe crying dramatically and Derek shouting at someone. That's terrible, I said. What kind of issue? Something about the booking being flagged for review. They won't explain it properly. Amber, we've already paid for the entire week. Have you called customer service? Yes. They keep transferring us to different departments. No one will give us a straight answer. I could hear Dad's voice in the background. This is outrageous. Do you know who I am? Apparently the resort staff didn't care who he thought he was. I'm so sorry this is happening, I said. Is there anything I can do to help? I don't know what anyone can do. They're being completely unreasonable. Chloe's voice came through clearly. This is ruining everything. Our whole vacation is destroyed. Maybe try booking somewhere else? I suggested. Everywhere else is booked solid. It's peak season. That's awful. I really wish I could help. I know, sweetie. I know you would if you could. If I could. Like I was some powerless person sitting helplessly while my family faced a crisis. Keep me posted, I said. I hope you can work it out. After I hung up, I opened my laptop and pulled up the Paradise Bay Management dashboard. The Winters family reservation showed a red flag. Guest conduct violation, immediate ejection authorized. I'd tagged their reservation the night before with a standard violation notice. Nothing illegal, nothing permanent. Just a temporary flag that gave the resort staff authority to ask them to leave. My phone buzzed with a text from Chloe, worst vacation ever. Loudly crying face, some mistake with the computer system. They won't even let us appeal it. I responded, oh no. That's so frustrating. 20 minutes later, another call. This time it was Dad. Amber, we need your help. Of course, Dad. What can I do? We need to borrow some money. To book another resort. I paused. How much money? Well, everywhere else is significantly more expensive on short notice. We're looking at about $60,000 for the rest of the week. $60,000? I know it's a lot. But this vacation was supposed to be special. It's our anniversary and Chloe and Derek's 5-year anniversary, and we'd already taken time off work. Dad, I don't have $60,000. I know. But maybe you could ask your boss for an advance? Or take out a loan. I stared at my laptop screen. where the Paradise Bay property showed a daily revenue of $340,000. My boss was staring back at me from my own employee photo on the company website. I can try, I said. But Dad, why didn't you guys invite me on this vacation in the first place? Silence. Dad. Well, Amber, you know how Chloe feels about certain things. What certain things? She just thought it might be more relaxing if it was just immediate family. I am immediate family. Of course you are. But you know, with your situation, she was worried about stress levels. My situation? Your financial struggles. Your job problems. She didn't want the vacation to become about helping you or listening to complaints about your life. I set down my coffee cup very carefully. I see. It's not personal, sweetie. Chloe just wanted 1 week where she didn't have to worry about anyone else's problems. Right. Because my existence is a problem. That's not what I said. It's what you meant. Dad sighed. Amber, can we focus on the immediate issue? We really need help here. Let me see what I can do, I said. I'll call you back. I hung up and opened Chloe's Instagram again. She'd posted a new story, worst resort ever. They literally kicked us out for no reason. Avoid Paradise Bay at all costs. Pouting face. The story had 200 views already. In the comments, her friends were expressing outrage and solidarity. That's horrible. Sue them. Post this everywhere. Name and shame. I screenshotted the story and forwarded it to my head of PR with a note. Please prepare a response regarding false reviews. Legal may need to get involved. Then I called my assistant. Hi Maya. I need you to pull the guest history for Paradise Bay Resort. The Winters family reservation that was flagged this morning. Of course. What specific information do you need? I want to know if they've caused any actual problems during their stay. Staff complaints, property damage, disturbances. I'll have that for you in 10 minutes. While I waited, I thought about the last family gathering I'd attended. Thanksgiving 6 months ago. Chloe had spent the entire dinner talking about her new house, her husband's promotion, their upcoming vacation plans. When someone asked about my life, she'd interrupted with, "Oh, Amber's still figuring things out. Aren't you, sis?" The dismissal in her voice. The way she'd smiled like she was being kind. Still living in that tiny apartment? Derek had added, "Man, I can't imagine not having space to breathe." Different priorities, I'd said quietly. Yeah, like not having any money for priorities, Chloe had laughed. Sorry, that was mean. I just worry about you. She didn't worry about me. She pitied me. And apparently, my presence was such a burden that they'd planned an entire family vacation specifically to exclude me. My phone rang. I have the guest report, she said. The Winters family has been problematic. How so? Multiple noise complaints from other guests. They've been playing music loudly on their terrace past quiet hours. Mr. Derek Winters was reported for inappropriate behavior at the pool bar yesterday, apparently making crude comments to female staff members. Anything else? Mrs. Chloe Winters posted several negative reviews online before the ejection, claiming the food was mediocre and the service was third world level. She also complained that her suite wasn't clean enough, though housekeeping reports show no actual cleanliness issues. So they were legitimately problematic guests. Very much so. The staff had already begun documenting issues for potential action. I hung up and opened my laptop. The guest conduct file for the Winters family was extensive. Noise complaints, staff harassment, false reviews, demanding special treatment. They hadn't been kicked out because of a mysterious computer glitch. They'd been kicked out because they were terrible guests who had no idea how to behave at a luxury resort. I called Dad back. Any luck with the money? He asked immediately. Actually, Dad, I found out something interesting about why you were asked to leave. What do you mean? I have a friend who works in hospitality. She made some calls for me. And apparently you guys were reported for multiple violations. Noise complaints, harassment of staff, posting false reviews. That's ridiculous. We weren't doing anything wrong. Derek was making inappropriate comments to the female bartenders. He was just being friendly. And Chloe was posting negative reviews while she was still a guest. She was just expressing her opinion. Dad, you were kicked out because you were acting like entitled jerks, Not because of a computer error. Silence. That's not how it happened. It's exactly how it happened. And now you want me to loan you $60,000 to go be entitled jerk somewhere else. Amber, that's not fair. What's not fair is being called a burden by my own family. What's not fair is being excluded from a family vacation and then being asked to pay for your replacement vacation when you get kicked out for bad behavior. We didn't exclude you. Chloe literally posted family vacation without the burden. With a picture of everyone except me. 847 people liked it. Dad was quiet for a long moment. I didn't see that post. Because you don't follow me on social media. None of you do. You don't know anything about my life because you've decided it's not worth knowing about. Amber. The answer is no, Dad. I'm not taking out a loan to fund your vacation. Figure it out yourselves. I hung up. For the rest of the day my phone buzzed with increasingly frantic calls and texts. Mom calling to ask if I'd reconsidered. Chloe texting long paragraphs about how family should help family. Derek sending a voice message about how disappointed he was in my selfishness. I ignored all of them and focused on work. Azure Coast Hospitality was in the middle of acquiring 3 new properties in Costa Rica. Real problems that required real solutions. That evening, Chloe posted another Instagram story. When your family abandons you in your time of need, broken heart, guess we know who really cares about family? The comments were predictably supportive of her narrative. Your sister should help. Family first. Some people are so selfish. I screenshotted that too and added it to a growing file. The next morning my phone rang again. Unknown international number. Hello. Miss Phillips? This is Marcus Rodriguez, manager at Paradise Bay Resort. Yes. I'm calling regarding the Winters family reservation. They've requested to speak with our ownership group about their ejection from the property. I see. They're claiming they were unfairly targeted and demanding compensation for their inconvenience. They've also threatened legal action and continued negative publicity. What kind of compensation are they requesting? Full refund of their stay, plus additional damages for emotional distress. They're claiming the ejection was discriminatory and that our staff was unprofessional. I lean back in my chair. Mr. Rodriguez, what's your professional assessment of their behavior during their stay? Honestly, they were some of the most entitled, disruptive guests we've had in years. The staff was actually relieved when they left. Document everything. Save all the complaints, all the interactions, all the evidence of their behavior. Of course. But Miss Phillips, they're demanding to speak with ownership. How should I handle that? Transfer them to my legal department. Tell them ownership will review their case and respond appropriately. Understood. After I hung up, I called my head of legal. Jennifer, I need you to handle something for me. The Winters family at Paradise Bay is threatening legal action. What's the situation? They were ejected for multiple conduct violations, and now they're claiming discrimination and demanding compensation. Do we have documentation of the violations? Extensive documentation. Plus they've been posting false and defamatory reviews online. Sounds like they have no case. Should we respond with a cease and desist? Not yet. Let them continue making threats. Document everything. If they want to play hardball, we'll be ready. That afternoon, Chloe called me directly. Amber, we need to talk. Hi, Chloe. This resort situation is getting ridiculous. They're refusing to give us any compensation, and now they're threatening to sue us for defamation. That sounds serious. It's insane. All because Derek was being friendly and I wrote an honest review. Chloe, why are you calling me about this? Because you said you have a friend in hospitality. Maybe she can help us understand what's happening. I don't think there's much to understand. You were disruptive guests, so you were asked to leave. We were not disruptive. We paid $47,000 for that suite. And you were loud, rude to staff and posted negative reviews while you were still a guest. Those reviews were honest. Were they? Or were you just mad that your 5-star suite wasn't 6 stars? Chloe was quiet for a moment. I can't believe you're taking their side. I'm not taking anyone's side. I'm just stating facts. The fact is that my family is in trouble and you don't care. The fact is that you publicly called me a burden and then expected me to bail you out when your vacation went bad. I never called you a burden. Family vacation without the burden. That was your caption. That wasn't about you. Then who was it about, Chloe? Silence. Who exactly is the burden in our family that you were so happy to vacation without? I didn't mean it like that. You meant it exactly like that. You meant that my presence ruins things for you. That you're happier when I'm not around. Amber. And you know what? You're right. You are happier without me around. Because when I'm around, you have to pretend to care about someone other than yourself. That's not true. It is true. You've spent years treating me like a charity case, like someone to pity and dismiss. And now that your vacation is ruined, suddenly you need your burden of a sister to help fix it. I'm sorry, okay? I'm sorry about the caption. I wanted one vacation where we didn't have to worry about anything. Worry about what? About your situation. Your financial problems. Your job issues. What job issues? You know, the fact that you can't seem to hold down a steady position. I laughed. Chloe, what do you think I do for work? I don't know. Different things. Temp work, maybe. You don't know what I do for work? Well, no. You never really talk about it. Because every time I try, you change the subject or interrupt me. That's not true. Last Thanksgiving I started to tell you about a project I was working on. You cut me off and started talking about your kitchen renovation. I don't remember that. You never remember. Because you don't listen. Chloe was quiet for a long moment. So what do you do for work? It doesn't matter now. Yes, it does. I want to know. Why? So you can judge whether it's good enough? So you can decide if I'm worth including in family events. Amber, please. I'm trying to understand. I looked out my office window at the city skyline. 12 of the buildings in my view were properties I owned. The restaurant where my family ate every Christmas was in a building I'd bought 3 years ago. I run a hospitality company, I said finally. Like hotels. Hotels, resorts, restaurants. We have properties in 15 countries. That sounds nice. It's a billion-dollar company, Chloe. Silence. What? Azure Coast Hospitality. Maybe you've heard of it. Wait. You work for Azure Coast. I don't work for Azure Coast. I am Azure Coast. The silence stretched for almost a minute. Amber, what are you saying? I'm saying I own the company. I built it from nothing. I'm worth about $1.8 billion. That's impossible. Why is it impossible? Because you live in a tiny apartment. You drive an old car. You never have money for things. I choose to live simply. And I never said I didn't have money. You just assumed I didn't. But we've been worried about you for years. No, you've been judging me for years. There's a difference. I could hear her breathing heavily on the other end of the line. Amber, if you really own this company, then you could help us with the resort situation. How? You could call them. You could explain that we're your family. Chloe, do you want to know something funny? What? I don't need to call Paradise Bay Resort. I already know everything about your stay there. What do you mean? I mean I own Paradise Bay Resort. The phone went so quiet I thought the call had dropped. Chloe. You own the resort? I own the resort where you called me a burden. Where you posted negative reviews. Where Derek harassed my staff. Where you demanded special treatment and complained about everything. Oh my God. You were ejected from my resort for being terrible guests. And then you called me asking for money to go be terrible guests somewhere else. Amber, I had no idea. Of course you didn't. Because you never bothered to learn anything about my life. I'm so sorry. I'm so sorry. For which part? For calling me a burden? For excluding me from family events? For treating me like a failure for years? Or for asking me to pay for your vacation after you got kicked out of my own resort? All of it. Everything. Amber, I had no idea you were so successful. And if I wasn't successful? If I really was struggling financially? Would you be sorry then? Silence. That's what I thought. Amber, please. Let me make this right. How? I don't know. Tell me how. I looked at my computer screen where the Paradise Bay incident report was still open. Photos of Derek being escorted away from the pool bar. Audio recordings of Chloe screaming at the front desk staff. Reviews she'd posted calling my resort, third world, and disgusting. Delete the Instagram posts, I said. What? Delete the posts calling Paradise Bay the worst resort ever. Delete the stories about being unfairly treated. Delete anything negative you've posted about my property. Of course. Yes. I'll do that right now. And apologize. To who? To everyone. Post a public apology admitting that you were disruptive guests and that the resort was right to ask you to leave. Amber, that's really embarrassing. Not as embarrassing as being ejected from a resort for bad behavior. But my followers will think. Your followers will think you learned from your mistakes and grew as a person. Unless you'd rather they think you're the kind of person who harasses hotel staff and then lies about it online. Hey. Okay, I'll post an apology. And Chloe. Yes. The next time you plan a family vacation, you can either invite your entire family or you can pay for it yourselves. But you don't get to exclude me and then ask for my help when things go wrong. I understand. Do you? Because I don't think you understand what you did. You didn't just hurt my feelings. You showed me exactly how much I matter to you. You matter so much. No, I don't. I matter to you now because you found out I'm wealthy. But yesterday I was a burden you were happy to vacation without. That's not true. It's exactly true. And we both know it. I hung up. Within an hour, Chloe had deleted all her negative posts about Paradise Bay. By evening she'd posted a long apology admitting that her family had been difficult guests, and that the resort had acted professionally in a challenging situation. The apology got 23 likes. Much less engagement than her original complaint posts. Dad called that night. Amber, Chloe told me about your company. Did she? Why didn't you ever tell us? I tried to, Dad. Multiple times. But every time I mentioned work, you'd either change the subject or make some comment about me needing to get serious about my career. I didn't know. You didn't want to know. It was easier to assume I was failing than to actually listen to what I was telling you. You're right. We've been terrible. Yes, you have. How can we fix this? I don't know if you can. Please, Amber. You're our daughter. Our family. Am I? Because for the past 5 years, you've treated me like an embarrassment. Like someone you tolerate out of obligation. That's not how we see you. It's exactly how you see me. Or how you saw me until you found out I was rich. Dad was quiet for a long moment. What would it take for you to forgive us? Time, I said. And proof that you actually want a relationship with me, not just access to my money. We don't want your money. Dad, the first thing you did after finding out about my company was ask Chloe if I could help with the resort situation. Not, let's apologize to Amber. Not, let's figure out how to be better family. You immediately started thinking about how my success could benefit you. He didn't deny it. Call me in 6 months, I said. If you can go 6 months without asking me for anything, without expecting anything, without treating me differently because of my money, then maybe we can start rebuilding. 6 months. 6 months. Dad, if I see any of you posting about having a successful businesswoman in the family, or bragging about your connections to Azure Coast Hospitality, the conversation is over permanently. I hung up and turned off my phone. 3 weeks later I received a handwritten letter from Mom. No requests for money, no mentions of my business. Just an apology for years of dismissive treatment and a promise to do better. She included a photo from my high school graduation. The 4 of us together before Derek, before the judgment, before I'd become someone they were embarrassed by. I found this in an old album, she wrote. I remember how proud we were that day. I want to feel that way again, not because of your money but because of who you are. It was a start. 6 months later I had dinner with my parents. Just the 3 of us. We talked about Mom's book club, Dad's golf game, my recent trip to see the new Costa Rica properties. Normal family conversation. Chloe wasn't there. She'd moved to Florida with Derek, partly for his job and partly, I suspected, because she couldn't face the awkwardness of rebuilding our relationship. He sent a Christmas card though. A simple one that said, "Thinking of you," with a handwritten note. I know I have a lot to make up for. I hope someday you'll let me try. Kept the card. A year after the Paradise Bay incident, I bought a small resort in Vermont. Not for business, just for family. A place where we could vacation together, if we ever got to the point where that was possible again. I named it Burden's Rest. It seemed fitting.